So yesterday, all right, since I'm audible and you can see the screen, let's continue with the topic of risk management. Yesterday, we looked at part 1 and today we are going to look at part 2. Part 2 is more about management of risk. MCQ 12673. How many times do I have to discuss this? What is your query in this? I discussed this MCQ 3 times yesterday, and in this you have to look at if you have to buy a new vessel, what would be your cost, and if you do not buy a new vessel, what would be your cost. Shushma, ready? Am I audible now? Is it clear? Guys, can you listen to what I'm saying? My sound, is my voice clear to all of you? Is it clear now? All right. So Sushma, I was telling you about the MCQ. Yesterday, the MCQ that we did was dependent on two decisions. One is whether you have to buy the new vessel, or if you don't buy the new vessel, then what would be the cost. So to discuss that, what we did was we had two parameters. One was if we buy, and another is if we do not buy. If you will buy, what will happen? You will have to incur the purchase cost, which is 200 lakhs. And along with it, you will have to bear the maintenance cost, which is 5 lakh for 10 vehicles. And we are looking at only one, which will be 50,000. So this is the cost that you need to incur. Sushma, I am discussing MCQ 12673. And if you do not buy, then you have to get the insurance done, which is 90% of 200 lakhs, which is 180 lakh. Also, you have to meet the maintenance cost, which is 50,000. So I told you that maintenance cost is irrelevant for the decision. Why? Because it is in both. What we need to check is that what is the unexpected loss that we are going into. The unexpected loss that we are going into is of 20 lakhs. 200 minus 180, or 200 plus 50 minus 180 plus 50. This was what we discussed yesterday. Sushma, is it clear with you? Kindly give me a thumbs up so that I can move ahead with the new topic. All right, great. Now, moving ahead with the topic. Guys, yesterday we primarily looked at what is risk, what are the types of risks, right? But today we are going to look at risk management process. Today we will understand that how can we manage the risk that we have identified and assessed. So when we look at risk management process, there are 4 things that we need to consider. First is management's willingness to assume risk. What is management's willingness? Like, what is the tolerable range as to what the management can assume the risk? Second is, if we identify the risk, then what are those risks which will definitely prevent us from achieving our goal? Third is how to develop risk responses. And fourth is reporting the result of risk management to the higher authorities. Once we have briefed on these 4 topics, then we are going to look at our attitude towards the risk. Yesterday also we looked at 2 people. One was risk seeker and another was risk averse. And there is another person who is risk neutral. Risk neutral person is that person who does not have any opinion regarding the risk. Risk seeker is the person who is willing to accept the risk. Why? Because he is he is anticipating that if the risk will increase, the rate of return will also increase. And risk averse is the person who is not willing to accept the risk. Therefore, the mentality of this person is that if the risk will increase, the return will decrease. So these are three types of attitudes. But what is important for us is this: risk response strategies, most important. You will also see a lot of questions based on these things. Like a situation will be given to you and you have to identify whether you are trying to avoid the risk, whether you are trying to retain the risk, whether you are trying to share the risk. So what are the risk response strategies? First is avoidance of risk. No one wants risk. Everyone wants to avoid the risk. Then, if the risk cannot be avoided, just say in example of residual risk, if such risk cannot be avoided, then how much are we ready to retain? How much are we ready to mitigate? How much we are ready to transfer or share, and how much we are ready to accept? So, to understand these 5 terms better, let's go to our notes. Let's go to our notes. Kindly open your books. And on page number 18, Unit 4, page 18. Kindly open your books, page number 18. We will look at risk strategies. We are going to look at risk response strategies. Guys, you people have been very kind and very patient. I don't know why today there is some internet issues in my area. Again, my voice is breaking. Oh God. Is my voice clear now? Thank God. See, there is some issue with the internet. You people are being very kind and very patient. Today, instead of sharing lot many screens, because of the internet connectivity, I think we all should pick up our books and go back to our books. Kindly open page number 18 of Unit 4, page number 18. We will read risk response strategies right now. Risk response strategies. The first risk response strategy that we are going to look at is risk avoidance. The first strategy which we are going to look at is risk avoidance. Guys, when we talk about risk avoidance, our primary objective is to highly unaccept the risk, which means we are not at all accepting the risk. We are avoiding the entire risk. And why we are avoiding the entire risk? Because we do not want any risk in our life, right? So what happens is, when we look at risk response strategy, which is avoidance of risk, over here, the key role or the key point is that we are not going to accept even a single % of risk. We are not going to accept even a single % of risk. So when we talk about risk avoidance, what are we going to do? We will not engage in any activity that has unacceptably high risk. So we are going to refrain ourselves from any such activity which is highly risky. We will not enter into any such business deal, which is highly risky. Like in case of the example, it is given that a highly risk averse company, who are risk averse people who think that if risk will increase, the return will decrease. So these people are risk averse people. Now, in case of risk averse people, the implication of global warming, they are reviewing the implication of global warming, and the company elects to eliminate its business interest in coastal areas. So what they have done, they have shut down their operations in coastal areas. Why? Because they are completely avoiding the risk which they have to bear if they run their operations in coastal areas. Okay. Moving ahead to the next definition, which is risk retention. Risk retention. Now, what is risk retention? As I told you, this is similar to residual risk. This is similar to residual risk. Say, for example, let's take an example to understand this. Say you have a factory. You have a factory. And this factory is valued for 50 lakhs. You have also got 30 lakhs insurance with you. Now, if a fire takes place, what will happen? You will bear a loss of 50 lakhs? No. Why? Because out of 50 lakh, 30 lakh has been insured. So you will bear a loss of 20 lakh. So what happened over here? This was your risk. This was your total risk. Out of this total risk, 20 lakh is something which you have retained. And 30 lakhs is something which you have transferred, which you have mitigated, which you have shared with insurance company. So when we talk about risk retention, we look at amount of risk that management has consciously decided to absorb. Risk retention is what the management has consciously decided to absorb. A company might purchase insurance to share or transfer its losses, but may also elect a large deductible to help reduce the premium. The amount of deductible that the company must pay in the event of loss is nothing but risk retention. Third is risk reduction or mitigation. Now, when we are trying to reduce our risk or mitigate our risk, we are trying to take steps, measures, corrective actions through which we can reduce the risk. We can reduce the impact of the risk. Like in yesterday's example, if you could recall, our factory was in hurricane zone. So we wanted to save our factory from the effects of storm. Can you recall the example? Now, for that, what did we do? We implied impact resistant glasses in our factory. By doing that, what did we do? By doing that, we tried to reduce the impact of possible risk. We tried to reduce the impact of possible risk. So that is risk reduction or mitigation. The fourth term is risk transfer or sharing. Now, guys, when we talk about risk transfer or sharing, ma'am, can you explain what the reduction of premium in part? Reduction is not clear. All right. Reduction is easy. For this 30 lakhs, guys, you would be paying some premium, right? Now, many times, the companies are willing to reduce this premium, which means to go away with this premium and not take the insurance, and they are ready to absorb all 50 lakh of risk. So there are two ways. Either get yourself insured. If you will get yourself insured, you will have to pay premium, which is a cost. By paying this premium, you are transferring your risk. If you do not want to pay this premium, or if you want to reduce the premium cost, what will you do? You will retain the risk. This is what they mean, that you have two ways, you have two paths, two roads to go. Okay? Okay. Now, let's talk about risk transfer or risk sharing. Guys, when we talk about risk transfer or risk sharing, we are basically looking at insurance. Same example that I have been giving you since the beginning of this lecture. Then we have risk exploitation or acceptance. Over here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to retain or accept risk, which is very less amount, which is of very less amount, which is of tolerable range. For example, a company that is not risk averse reviews the implications of global warming and sees opportunities for increased market share. Now, with no additional investment in risk mitigation techniques or insurance, the company elects to engage fully in the business in coastal and storm-prone areas. The company plans to offset any catastrophic losses with higher margins and higher market share in areas abandoned or foregone by the competitors. Yes, I can explain slowly, Neeraj. I will give you a very good example right now to explain all these things. Listen, let's take this example only. You are risk averse person. Who is a risk averse person? Who anticipates that if risk will increase, my return on risk will decrease. Now, you are looking at global warming. And you anticipate that due to global warming, I should not do any business in coastal areas. If you are doing this, you are avoiding the risk to happen. You are 100% avoiding the risk. On the other hand, you are saying that we will operate in coastal areas. We will operate in coastal areas and we will increase the profit margin on our products. We will make our product expensive. Here, you are accepting the possible risk. Now, you have set up your business and your factory cost was 50 lakhs. Out of these 50 lakhs, 30 lakh amount you have insured. So you will say that 30 lakh is risk transfer, 20 lakh is risk retained. So in this one example, you can see how we can avoid the risk, how we are accepting the risk, how we are transferring it, and how we are retaining the risk. Understood, everyone? Give me a thumbs up if you have understood. Awesome. Great. Chalo. Now we will move ahead. Now we will move ahead and we will look at other topic. Next topic is liability or hazard insurance. Guys, this is very easy topic. You can simply read it. This says that if there is some hazard related to your product, you can always get your product insured. So I'm not looking into that. We are looking at some more interesting topics, which is managing operational risk. Do you remember operational risk? Guys, tell me what is operational risk. We studied it yesterday. Can someone tell me what is operational risk? I'm waiting. Can someone tell me what is an operational risk? Risk in day-to-day operations. Awesome. Very good. Very good. Day-to-day operations. Amazing. Now, yesterday we understood that what is operational risk. Today we are going to understand how we can manage this operational risk. Yes, labor is off for the week is an operational risk, right? Now listen, first is human error. The basic reason or the biggest operational risk is human error. Carelessness of the supervisor, carelessness of the labor, right? So this is human error. How can we mitigate it? How can we manage it? By better supervision. We can manage it by providing training to our staff, to our workers, by keeping specific quality controls. So these are the three ways through which you can mitigate your human error risk. Second type of operational risk that we face is information technology failure. For example, machinery breakdown. Machinery breakdown. In such cases, how are we going to mitigate it? We can mitigate it by continuous maintenance of our systems, by continuous ongoing review of our system effectiveness. So these are the two ways through which you can mitigate information technology failures. Third is quality risk. Quality risk. Now, how can we mitigate it? We can mitigate it by focusing on customer satisfaction and value delivery. By looking at that, yes, our sales are going up, but the customers are not being repeated. There is no brand loyalty. If there is no brand loyalty, which means a customer is not willing to buy a product again and again, which means that you should focus more on the quality of your product so that the customer repeats his or her consumption for your product. And lastly, we have process failure. Now, how to mitigate process failure is by defect analysis and by continuous improvement in our processes. Continuous improvements in our processes. Next is financial risk management. Next topic is financial risk management. Can someone tell me what is financial risk? What are the factors of financial risk, guys? I'm waiting for your reply. What do you think is financial risk? Right. Credit worthiness, monetary loss, interest, forex, bad debts. Right. Good. Now we are going to look at the reasons, the ways through which we can mitigate it. First is interest rate risk. Interest rate risk. Interest rate risk represents the exposure of an asset to fluctuations in the value due to changes in interest rate. How can we mitigate it? We can mitigate it by investing in floating rate securities and not in fixed interest rate security. We can look for interest rate swap options. Interest rate swap options. Next is market risk. Guys, market risk is the risk which affects the entire industry. Which affects the entire industry. Now, for example, loss in value of S&P 500 is a market risk. Why? Because whosoever must have invested in S&P 500 would have faced that loss. How do we mitigate this? We mitigate it by investing in derivatives. We mitigate it by investing in derivatives. What are derivatives? Derivatives are securities like options. Put or call option is a derivative. Right? Next is non-market risk. Non-market risk. Non-market risk is the risk which is specific. It is not for the entire market. It is a specific risk. And to mitigate this specific risk, what we are going to do? We are going to make our portfolio diversification. We are going to make portfolio diversification. So you can mark these things alongside. You can mark these things alongside. Neeraj has asked me, what do you mean by interest rate swap? Neeraj, interest rate swap means that you are changing your fixed rate of interest into fluctuating rate of interest. Moving from fixed to fluctuating is interest rate swap. Derivative means options. Derivative means when we invest in options, when we invest in foreign exchange, all those things are derivatives. Next is default risk. Default risk. Default risk means that our debtors might not pay us the money. That is default risk. And how can we mitigate default risk? We can mitigate default risk by looking at credit worthiness of our debtors. By knowing that the people who are borrowing money from me have low tendency of default. And then we have price risk. Price risk means The risk that the value of my product, of my property, of my security will decrease substantially. This is my price risk. And we can mitigate this price risk by looking at earnings volatility, by looking at operational risks, because all these things again leads us to market risk. And price risk is something which is the driving force of market risk. Next we have is credit risk. Credit risk. Credit risk means that I will not be able to pay back the money of my creditors. So we are talking about two types of risk. One is default risk and another is credit risk. Default risk is that my debtor will not pay me money. Credit risk is that I won't be paying the money, because of which my credit worthiness will go down, and due to which it will be difficult for me to fetch money from the market. That is your credit risk. Like when we talk about CIBIL score, if my CIBIL is going down, then I am facing credit risk. Why? Because if my CIBIL will be low, then people are not going to give me money. They are not going to give me loans. Next, we have liquidity risk. Liquidity risk. Liquidity risk means that I will not be able to sell my securities timely. When I will be in need of money, I will not be able to sell my securities in time at best possible rates. This is my liquidity risk. If you people have any doubt in any of these topics, you can ask. I will repeat it. If it is clear, just give me a thumbs up. Non-market risk is the risk. Okay. Guys, non-market risk is specific risk. It is not related to the entire market. The name says that it is non-market risk. Non-market risk means a risk that individual business faces. So in this case, we are advising that create a portfolio. Do not invest only in one type of security. Invest some money in mutual funds, some money in gold, some money in property. This. Risk indifferent means that that person is not, when we talk about risk indifferent, we say that we are talking about someone who is risk neutral, who is not affected by possibility of risk. That is risk neutral. All right. I hope I have answered all your questions. Cool. It's so good to see that you people are understanding everything. This is amazing. All right. Price risk. Price risk. Okay. Guys, when we talk about price risk, we are talking about the risk that I will not be able to, maintain the price of my security. When we talk about price risk, let me think of an example which even you can relate. Okay, let's look at price risk. Now, say for example, you are in India and there is a person in USA. Your customer is in USA. Okay. You are trading in goods and one product of yours is of 1 lakh rupees, and say that the current rate is, current exchange rate is $1 equal to 70 rupees. Okay. Now, if this exchange rate will fluctuate, the pricing of your product will also change. Yes or no? Tell me. If this exchange rate will fluctuate, the price of your product will also fluctuate. Yes, this is the price risk. This is the price risk. This is the risk that due to any external thing, your product will not fetch its own actual price. And this will make the market risky. Have you understood now? Is it clear? Saqib Arshad, is it clear? This was your doubt? All right. Moving ahead, guys, let's move ahead and let's understand a very interesting and very easy and very highly tested topic of our examination, which is Enterprise Risk Management Framework, ERM Framework. Now, when we talk about ERM, this is a method, or you can say this is a structured way in which we can manage our risk. The Committee of Sponsoring Organization, which is COSO, this is an independent private sector initiative which, with the guidance of 5 organizations, which are American Accounting Association, AICPA, FEI, IIA, and IMA, which is Institute of Management Accountants. With the help of these 5 institutions, this body of COSO in 2004 came up with the concept of ERM, Enterprise Risk Management Integrated Framework. Enterprise Risk Management Integrated Framework. Now, under this framework, what will happen, or what they suggested should happen, was this. ERM was brought in by COSO in 2004. ERM talks about culture, capability, and various practices integrated with strategy setting and performance of the organization, so that the organization can create, preserve, and realize the value of its business. I'm going to spend some time on these terms so that we are able to capture what I'm going to teach you ahead. Okay. So let's talk about and focus about these 3 terms. One is creation of value. Another is preservation of value. And third is realization of value. Whenever a person starts with a new business, what is the goal of that person? Tell me. Tell me, what is the goal of a person when he or she starts with the business? Saqib, Surbi, Varun, Neeraj, Palakpreet, Rakesh, Saurav. Give me an answer. Come on. Harsha, Mamta, Jay. Creating brand, set guidelines, business growth and profit. Okay. All right. What else? What else? Business growth and profit. Okay. Growth. Sustain in the competition. Very good, Varun. Customer focus. All right. To generate profit. Right. Expand the business. Cool. Right. Now, guys, the first and foremost objective of starting any business is creating its own value by stability. Not by stability, sorry, by survival. By survival. Let's take an example. Do you remember the era when Jio was launched? Do you remember that time period when Jio was launched? Can someone tell me how Jio was launched? What was the price they charged for their product? What was the price that they charged for their product? Yes, Free data, free data, free data, right. They said we are going to give you free product. Geo came into which industry? Geo came into which industry, guys? Telecom. Can someone tell me who are the other players of telecom industry? Who is the giant of telecom industry? Airtel. Very good. So when Jio had taken this decision that Jio has to enter telecom industry, the first and foremost objective of Jio was to survive in this industry, to survive the competition that Airtel will bring forth, to survive, to create a brand, to create loyalty of the customer, so that the customer buys its product and not the product of Airtel, not the product of Idea, not the product of Vodafone. This is to create value for your business. The second thing is to preserve the value which you have created so that no one else can snatch your market share. No one else can attract your customers to the product. Do you remember Maggie? Do you eat Maggie? Do you remember Cadbury Dairy Milk? Cadbury Dairy Milk came against the case that there were worms in their chocolate. And Maggie had to face that there is lead in their masala. Do you all remember? Have you ever heard of these case studies? Many companies, let's take an example. Yippee Noodles. Have you heard of Yippee Noodles? Sunfeast. The time when Maggie was under legal risk, Yippee started to create its market. But today, if given an opportunity, if given a choice between Maggie and Yippee, how many of you are going to choose Maggie? Yes, all of us are going to choose Maggie because we love Maggie. Because Maggie has preserved its value. No one else, no Yippee, no Top Ramen, no other Chinky Punky noodle brand can fight Maggie. This is value preservation. And third is realization of value, wherein we talk about profitability in numbers. So the entire idea behind this ERM framework is to help the organization create, preserve, and realize the value of its business, of its brand. And to do that, what we have to do is we have to create a culture. We have to create capabilities, practices in accordance with our strategy, in accordance with our performance capabilities, so that we can maintain these three objectives. Have you understood? Guys, give me a thumbs up if you have understood. I'll move ahead. We will look at all these things in detail. All right. Now, since you have understood what is ERM, now we are going to look at 5 important components of ERM framework. 5 important components of ERM framework, and I want you people to open up page number 27, unit 4, page number 27 in your books. Keep it handy. I'm going to refer to that page. While teaching these 5 components, guys, I'm going to look at this page. So you also keep it handy. Now, guys, when we talk about ERM, we are talking about 5 important components, which are governance and culture, strategy and objective setting, performance, review and revision, information, communication, and reporting. Do we need to remember these components? Yes, we need to remember the names of these components. What are the 5 components? I'm repeating it again. Governance and culture, strategy and objective setting, performance, review and revision, information communication, and reporting. What do you mean by the term governance and culture? Have you ever heard of this term governance and culture? Kindly share your views about the term governance and culture. Let me see who knows how much. We don't know. Corporate governance and work culture, right? What else? Anyone? Governance is to control. All right. Culture of the company and vision. Okay. All right. So you are right. To govern means to control. No. When we talk about governance and culture, we are not talking about government. We are talking about the body of the organization. We are over. There was an internet issue. Am I audible? All right, guys. Have you heard about the hierarchy of an organization? Top level management, bottom level management, middle level management? Yes. So who all comes in the top level management? Who all comes in the top level management? Board members, CFOs. Right. MDs. Awesome. Great. Who comes under the middle level management? Who all are in the middle level management? Managers. What kind of managers? Department managers. Very good. Like production manager, like sales manager, advertisement manager, process manager, right? And who all comes under the bottom level management? Who all comes under the bottom level management, guys? Bottom level workers, staff, supervisors. Awesome. Right. Now, what do you think that why do they follow the discipline of the organization? Like, say, for example, there is a policy of no smoking in the office area. Who do you think makes these rules? Say, for example, your organization or your corporate has a rule that no one will use their phone in the office. To your family or convey something, use the landline of the office. Or like Google has pet playstations, Google have crutch in their office. They have a very casual kind of an atmosphere in their office. What do you think? Who sets this tone of the organization? Yes, top level management, higher authorities. Awesome. So when we talk about governance and culture, guys, we are talking about all these things. We are talking about all such things. When we talk about governance and culture, we are talking about setting the tone of the organization. Setting the tone of the organization. So if you will look at page number 27, there is a table and we are going to look at governance and culture explanation. Now, when we talk about governance and culture, first point is assess the strategies of the entity in relation to the mission, vision, and values of the entity. Develops governance subcommittees. Engages management in defining suitability of ERM. Promotes a risk awareness mindset and oversees the alignment of business performance, risk taking, and achievement of objectives. So when we talk about governance and culture, guys, we are broadly talking about the tone of the organization. We are talking about what risks are we willing to take, what is our risk acceptance level, what is our risk sharing level, and all such things. When we decide, we say that we are setting the governance and culture of our organization. Clear? Is this thing clear? Give me a thumbs up if it is clear. I'll move to strategy and objective setting. All right. Now, when we talk about second point, which is strategy and objective setting, we are basically looking at our risk appetite. We are basically looking at how we are going to manage the risk. We are going to look at how we are going to mitigate the risk. When we talk about performance, we are actually working, we are actually operating, we are actually looking at the matrices that how should we proceed ahead. And when we talk about review and revision, we look at the results, the performance that we made, what results did they came out with. That is review and revision. And lastly, we have information, communication, and reporting, which means informing our authorities, communicating the results with our authorities, and reporting them. We are reporting all those things to them. All right. So basically, for next, 1.5 hour, 2 hour, we are going to look at all these things. That how an organization operates to set their objective, what strategies do they make, how do they operate, how do they evaluate and analyze the consequences, the results that we get, and how they are going to report and communicate all these things to their higher authorities. Is this much clear to everyone? On page number 24, there are some approaches that we need to look at and some definitions that we need to look at. The first and foremost definition is of risk profile. We are going to talk about risk profile, guys. Now, when we look at risk profile, it's like the resume of the risk. Have you ever made your resume? Have you ever made your CV? Yes. So what all things do you include in your CV? You include each and everything about yourself, which is relevant for the job, right? Like your educational qualifications, your skill set, all those things. Vivek, don't worry, you will soon make your CV when you will become a CMA. Okay, so when we talk about risk profile, everyone, when we talk about risk profile, it is the same thing that is happening. Risk profile is like the CV of the risk. It is to look at what kind of risks can we face if we get into this activity. Say, for example, let's take the case study of Cadbury itself. Do you know when Cadbury was accused that there are worms in their chocolates, they did not defend it. They accepted it. They said, yes, this is something which is true. And after that, they started to analyze that why did this happen and what can be the solution to it. And then they started to install free of cost those purple color fridge you must have seen at departmental stores. So all those things are an effect, or you can say result of the risk that they faced. They improved on their product. They improvised their product. So when we talk about all such things, we are saying that we are looking at risk profile of Cadbury. When we look at risk profile, we look at the levels of risk that an organization has chosen to accept. That the organization has said that, yes, this is my responsibility. These are the types of risks that I might face if I get into this activity. This is the severity of the risk, and these are the consequences of the risk. So when we talk about risk profile, we are looking at three things, guys. When we talk about risk profile, we are looking at three things. One, types of risk that my business will face. Second, the severity of the risk, the impact, the gravity of the impact. And the third one is our performance towards that risk. So I am unable to share my screen. Otherwise, I would have shown you all these three things. Type, impact, and solution. Right. Response. Type, impact, and response. These are the things that we need to look at when we develop our risk profile. Then second topic which we have is risk identification approach. And yesterday also we looked at some of the risk identification approaches. Can you name any three? Can you name any three? Yesterday we looked at risk identification. Can you name any 3 points? of risk identification. Interview, survey, heat map. Very good. Very good, Saurav. Very good, Shreyas. Let others try. Come on, everyone. Can you recall? Be honest with yourself. Can you recall cash flow analysis? No, Kritika. Cash flow analysis is not risk identification. Right. Risk inventory. Very good. Interviews. Very good. So today also we are going to look at these things only, workshops. Absolutely correct. So if you look at page number 25, guys, there are a few methods through which we can identify the risk. Some are known to you, like workshops, interviews, right? Then we have cognitive computations, data capture, key indicators, and process analysis. Cognitive compositions or computations are nothing but when we analyze large group of data so as to make the projections, we say that we are using cognitive method. So what is a cognitive method? Cognitive method is to study large set of data and to make the projections of that data. That is your cognitive computation. Next is data capture. When we talk about data capture, we look at past events, and we try to understand their consequences. We look at past events and then we try to understand their consequences so that we can predict the consequence of our action. That is your data capture. Then we have key indicators. Key indicators are like economic indicators. Okay, yesterday we took an example of COVID, right? In COVID, technology and pharmaceutical business, they boomed. Zoom, let's be honest with each other. Before COVID, I did not know about Zoom. I did not imagine a world wherein we are going to communicate with people over Zoom in any part of the globe. But COVID made us realize that geographical boundaries are not obligations or limits. Right? Yes, we all knew about Skype. But today also, Zoom is more used than Skype, right? I even don't know after COVID. Vivek, you really need to buckle up. Okay. So when we talk about key indicators, we talk about economic indicators. Let's take another example. Okay. Do you know about the war between Russia and Ukraine? Yes. So the war between Russia and Ukraine is giving us indicators that we need to look at the businesses that we are doing with these nations, right? We need to look at alternative ways. Say, for example, I am a businessman who imports its products from Russia. And due to all these war-like situations, the trade is going to be difficult. There would be delays in deliveries. There would be fluctuations in the exchange rates. So all these things are indicators. And then we have process analysis. Guys, process analysis involves developing a diagram like flowcharts. So process analysis is nothing but a flowchart which tells us the relationship between input and output. That is your process analysis. Understood? That is your process analysis. Next topic that we are going to look at is risk severity assessment. Guys, risk severity assessment. Do you remember what is inherent risk? We discussed yesterday. Do you remember what is residual risk? Do you remember what is actual risk? Can you tell me what is inherent risk? Does management take any action for inherent risk? No. Very good, Surbhi. Very good, Vivek. Very good, Sakib. Yes, example of hurricane area. Very good, Sneha. You know, it is very important for you people to recall. Be true to yourself. Whenever I ask you something, and if you are not able to recall, that is an indicator for you that you need to go back and revise. That is an indicator for you. That is a personal indicator for you. So when I'm asking you something, be honest with yourself. Take a few seconds and see if that concept comes to your mind or not. If it comes to your mind, you are on the right track. If it does not come to your mind, then you have to go back and revise. Thank you, Vivek. I know it's a good example of key indicator. So now tell me, what do you understand by residual risk? Does management take action for residual risk? Is residual risk the risk that persists even after taking the actions? Right, right. Yes, very good. Very good. Now, when we talk about severity, we talk about the gravity. We talk about the extent of impact. How severe is the risk? If the thing that we are looking at as risk matures, it happens in reality, are we ready to mitigate it? Are we ready to face it? Do we have enough resources to meet that risk? When we ask all these questions, we say that we are looking at risk severity. So I'm reading out from the notes. You also please refer to your book. The severity of risk is evaluated after it has been identified. Resources and capabilities are deployed to keep the risk within the risk appetite. Within the risk appetite. The severity of a risk is assessed at multiple levels. Severity measures relate to impact and likelihood. And risk assessment is done keeping three things in mind: inherent risk, target risk, which is residual risk, and actual risk. So the organization should know that how much they can accept, how much would be the inherent risk, and how much would be the residual risk. Then on next page, page number 26, guys, we have the topic of risk prioritization. Page number 26, risk prioritization. When we talk about risk prioritization, we will look at, or we will prioritize the risk which is extremely severe. Which is extremely severe. So first we are going to come up or strategize the responses for the risk which is extremely severe. That is risk prioritization. And then we have risk appetite. Risk, okay, what do you understand by the term appetite? If I ask you, what is your appetite? What will you say? What is appetite? Appetite means capacity. Right. Appetite means capacity. Sakib is saying 6 rotis. Right. So similarly, every organization has developed its own risk appetite, which is the capacity of taking the risk, of accepting the risk. That is your risk appetite. And risk appetite is expressed in the form of mission and vision statements. Risk appetite is expressed in the form of vision and mission statements. And last topic we have is relationship of value and risk appetite. Do you remember value, guys? Half hour back, I discussed creating, preserving, and realizing value. Do you remember what is value? Can you define value in one word? Can you define value in one word? Loyalty, worth, brand. Right, brand or goodwill. Absolutely correct. So what is the relationship between value and risk appetite? See, if you are able to create a good goodwill of your business. Your risk appetite will increase. Okay, tell me one thing. I am a chartered accountant. I'm doing well in my hometown. I'm a CPA as well. But will my brand value be more than Mr. Ambani? No. If I and Mr. Ambani both go to the same bank at same time of point, or sorry, at same point of time, and we go and ask for loan, who do you think the bank will entertain? Me or Mr. Ambani? Right. And that is the relationship between value and risk appetite. If I am Ambani, my value is so much that each and every bank will give me the loan. My credit worthiness is so much. Because I'll get a lot of credit, my risk appetite will increase. My risk appetite will increase, right? So what is the relationship between value and risk appetite? They are directly related. They are directly related to each other. Okay, guys? Are we all clear till this? Risk severity does not mean measure the risk, but it means measure the impact of the risk. How grave will be the impact of the risk? That is risk severity. Till now, what all we have discussed, is it clear to all of you? All right. So now we are going to take break of 15 minutes. We are going to connect again at 2:30. Exactly at 2:30 p.m. I will start with this topic again. We'll continue. Please have your food. Please have some water. Freshen up. Listen to some song. Go for a quick walk and come back. Yes, capabilities of managing risk over time is risk appetite, not risk severity, Neeraj. Chalo, I'll see you all at 2:30 now. All right, guys, are we back? Okay. That's awesome. Great. Chalo. Now we will continue from page number 26, ERM integration. Under ERM integration, we are going to look at the components of ERM, and we will understand how these components are applied. Okay. So let's begin with the first topic, which is corporate governance. Corporate governance, if you will see, it is the assignment of roles and responsibilities for ERM. And it begins with those charged with governance. And those charged with governance, we mean board of directors, chief executive officer, chief risk officer, the management, internal auditor, the directors, right? Through which the lines of accountability model is created. We believe that all these people are free from biasness. All these people are free from biasness. Then on page number 27, guys, let's look at this chart. Internet. Let's look at this chart. In this chart, what will happen? You will see ERM component, and then we will look at risk oversight practices of the board. That how does board of directors, or how does the those charged with governance people help us to follow, apply, implement each and every component of ERM. So firstly, governance and culture, we have already seen this. Strategy and objective setting, we have seen this. Let's look at performance. For performance, we compare entity strategy and underlying assumptions to the risk portfolio. We also set expectations for risk reporting and risk matrices. Say, for example, we have said that we are in hurricane zone, and over there would be storms, and due to storms, we are anticipating a loss of say $100,000, a loss of $100,000. But when actually the storm happened, the loss was $120,000, which means $1,20,000. So over here, the risk appetite, or say the risk matrix that we had established, is less than the actual risk. Therefore, we are saying that while performance, we get to know that for future, how much should we budget for? How much should we anticipate and keep the amount separate in reserves? Next, we have under performance itself, the third point, understands how management identifies and communicates the most severe risk as depicted by the entity's portfolio. That actually when we were profiling our risk, when we were prioritizing our risk, we thought that risk from storm is our priority. But during the year or during the month or quarter of operation, we got to know that human error is our prior risk, because storm is occasional. But if every day there would be a human error, then we have to target it first. So many times what happens is, after performance, we need to rethink on what we have already estimated for, how we have ranked or prioritized our various risks. Have you understood? Moving to review and revision, we ask our management about financial reporting risks, and we also ask the management about performance and suitability of ERM. Then we talk about information, communication, and reporting. And under this, what we are going to do? We are going to tell what we have accumulated. We are also going to take feedback of our internal staff, internal people of the organization, and also the external people. Now, who are the external people who are related to our organization? First and foremost is supplier. Then we have auditors. Then we have our banks, advertisement agencies, PR agencies. All these people are external to the organization, but they have very valuable feedbacks, which will again help us to project our risks appetite, risk portfolio, risk prioritization. Have you understood, guys? If you have understood, give me a thumbs up or a yes. And then we will move to our next page. So coming to the next page, guys, we will look at board level commitment, and we will also look at the management. See, whenever we have to make any oversight, whenever we have to monitor what is happening in the organization, it is always good to create committees. So over here, we have 4 types of committees. One is audit committee, second is risk committee, third is compensation committee, and fourth is nomination and governance committee. So as the name suggests, audit committee has the role and scope of authority related to audit, related to regulatory requirements, related to regulatory compliances. Whereas risk committees are they have the authority for non-financial areas of risks. What are non-financial areas of risk? Like risk of storm, risk of value that we have created, whether will it erode, whether we are able to preserve it, all such things. Then compensation committee. When we talk about compensation committee, over here we talk about monetary value. And last is nomination and governance committee. Under nomination and governance committee, we mostly look at who is going to be part of our board of directors, who will be promoted to the top level of management, so that our top level of management is more efficient and effective to make realistic projections. Then next topic is management. When we talk about management, management has three broad functions. One is core business activities, setting the tone for the core business activities. Second is managing support functions. Support function means like your sources of funds from financial institutions. And assurance functions. Assurance function is like whatever is happening in the organization is as per the corporate governance, as per the corporate culture of our organization. This is also the role of management to assure each and every person related to the organization that yes, we are working as per our mission and vision. Governance committee is the committee that will look at the candidates who can be selected for the post of directors. Basically, governance committee is the committee that will look at those people from within the organization who have worked honestly, sincerely, dedicatedly towards the growth of the organization so that they can get promotion. Neeraj, you have to be very, very focused. And you have to read along with me. Next is risk analytics, guys. Risk analytics. Anything which is analytical is that we are trying to put them into numbers and we are trying to fetch valuable results out of it. So whenever we say that we are analyzing something, is like we are trying to put it into numbers and we are trying to get realistic results out of it. So when we talk about risk analytics, this is something which we will do. Using risk analytic, we are going to develop a relationship between level of performance of the organization and expected amount of risk. It is the third last line on this page. Organizations use the relationship between level of performance for a strategy or business objective and the expected amount of risk to gauge the change in risk as performance increases. So with the help of risk analytics, what are we going to do? We are going to develop a relationship between two things. One is the level of performance that is expected from the business organization. And two is the expected amount of risk that the business organization is anticipating. So if you will look at the illustration on next page, everyone. The graph below illustrates the use of risk analytics by a retail operation. Management has determined the worst case scenario for losses. And we know that worst case scenario for losses is value at risk. We have studied it yesterday. Okay, tell me, what are the three methods to compute value at risk? Let's see if you can recall. What are the three methods to compute value at risk? Historical, variance covariance, Monte Carlo. Very good. I am glad that you people are able to recall. You should clap for yourself. Very good. So in this example also, what we are going to look at, value at risk. And we are going to look at the potential relationship between value at risk and increased performance. If you can see the diagram, on x-axis it is performance and on y-axis it is value at risk. Performance, addition of store outlets, which means we are trying to expand our business by developing more stores, by developing more retail stores. So if our performance will increase, our value at risk will also increase. Why? Because you know that return and risk are directly proportionate. If your business will expand, it will be more volatile. It will be more open to challenges and probabilities of risk. And if your risk will increase, you will want greater return from it. So this is an upward sloping curve. This is an upward sloping curve. Now, if you will look at this, you can see, okay, tell me, if you open 6 stores, what is your risk profile? You will say, ma'am, it will be somewhere near $30,000. If you'll have 7 stores, it will be 40,000. If you'll have 10 stores, it will be 90,000. So with this, you know that if we are operating 10 stores, if we are operating at the level of 10 stores, Then our risk amount, the amount which is, or the value which is at risk would be nearly 90,000. Now, out of this, how much you are going to transfer by insurance, that is your call. You can transfer the entire 100%, you can transfer 90%, you can transfer 50%. That is your call. So once you know what is the value of risk, then you can look at the alternatives, how you can mitigate, reduce, transfer, share, or avoid these risks. No, there would never be a point of stabilization, because stabilization is theoretical in nature. When in the real life, if we look at businesses, no business is stable. Why? Because business is dependent on so many external events. The moment you feel your business is stable, there would be some or the other indicator taking place in the economy that will again make your business vulnerable, volatile. So volatility is real. Stabilization is hypothetical. Okay, Shreyas? Let's move to the next page, page number 30, everyone. Kindly come on page number 30. And on page number 30, we have another illustration, very interesting illustration. Let's try to understand what is this illustration all about. In this portfolio view, the relationship among the entity objectives and supporting business objectives and the risk are shown. So if you will see, there are strategies and there are objectives. Entity objective, business objective, and risks. And we have overall strategies. What are the overall strategies? See, if you will look at this, there are 3 entity objectives, there are 4 business objectives, and there are 7 types of risks which circumference these entity objectives and business objectives. So this is a portfolio view. Matlab, if we look at only this table, we can say that for 7 objectives, we have 7 different types of risks that we need to encounter. So this illustration is nothing but a bird's eye view, and you can go deeper into it. But by giving this illustration, the examiner, or say the writer of this content, wants us to understand that for a bird's eye view, such tabular presentations help you to identify whether you should get into this risky market or no. And if we talk about illustration number 8, which is risk analytics, change and assessment. So they are talking about the same illustration which we saw at the last page, illustration number 6, wherein we were adding stores and we were looking at value at risk. So if you will see, the original one was at 10 units, there were 90,000 units or $90,000, which was value at risk. And now when we have revised this, we have got new amounts. Can you tell me what is the amount for 8 stores? What is the amount of 8 stores? 1,20,000. Very good. What is the amount for 10 stores? No. For 8 store, if you are saying 60,000, that is previous one. The revised one is 120. Right. So the only objective of these diagrams is to give you a bird's eye view. That's it. That if you are layman, if you want to invest in a business, and if you have these charts handy, then you can make up your mind whether you want to get into such risky business or not. Then on page number 31, everyone, kindly come on page number 31. There is a topic of performance management. Performance management requires risk identification, assessment of risk severity, prioritization of risk, implementation of risk responses, and development of a portfolio view. Development of a portfolio view. Performance management is put into practice by organizational units. A risk assessment officer may be hired to oversee the implementation and monitoring of ERM. All right. And lastly, we have a topic of internal control. And for internal control, what we need to look at management's principles, which means what kind of principles does management have to accept the risk, to form its risk appetite, to prioritize the risk. If the management will be risk taker, then they will not be afraid to expand their business. They will not be afraid of risks. But if management is risk averse, they will definitely be afraid of the risks. And they might not expand their stores because they are afraid of the risk. So when we talk about internal control, we are looking at the performance and its reporting. Basically, if you are simply doing the work and you are not analyzing the results, then you are not doing justice to your business. You are not doing justice to all the stakeholders of your business. And for generating true reports, there has to be a system of internal control. Otherwise, each and every department will want that the management looks at them as players and performers. The management should see only positive things, which is not true. Because if the management will look only at the growth, then how are they going to anticipate the risk, the possible hidden risk? How are they going to anticipate? Therefore, if you have a system of internal control, guys, then that will help you to get real reports so that you can anticipate the realistic world. All right. So this was all about your ERM. I want you people to solve question number 1 on next page. On page number 32, please solve the question which is given. Tell me what is the answer. What do you think? What is the answer of question number 1? Rahul, why do you think it is C? Rahul, you have said C. Why do you think it is C? What is the first step? First step is to identify the risk, not to set your appetite. If you don't know what is there for lunch, whether it is your favorite food or your not so favorite food, how will you define the appetite? You cannot, right? Therefore, first you need to know what is there. First you need to identify what are the risks that you need to face. Then only you can set your appetite for it. Option D is the correct answer. Try solving question number 2. Solve question number 2 on the next page. Shreyas, Saurav, you are saying B. Shreyas, you are saying C. Okay, Shreyas has changed his answer. He's again saying it's B. The correct answer is option A. Why is it option A? Because anyone who is risk indifferent or risk neutral is the person who does not focus on the risk and volatility while making an investment. In this question also, investor has ignored the volatility, which means he is ignoring the aspect of risk. He is making emotional choices and not realistic choices. And whenever we look at any such person, he or she is risk indifferent. Therefore, the correct answer for this question will be option A. Try solving question number 3, guys. Solve question number 3. Come on, guys. What is the question? Answer for question number 3. What do you think? Will you accept the proposal? Will you reject the proposal? What will you do? Yes, you will reject the proposal. Why? Because the value at risk is more than your appetite. Your appetite at 8 stores is 40,000. Value at risk is more, which is 60,000. You cannot. So you have to reject the proposal. Solve question number 4. Quickly solve question number 4. Question number 4 is theoretical. Through ERM, what we do? We see whether the risk is within our risk appetite or not. Shreya's risk capacity. You're talking about risk capacity, right? Risk capacity is the amount of risk that we can tolerate depending we have that much resources. Basically, risk appetite and risk capacity are almost the same. The only difference between the two terms is that risk capacity, when we talk about risk capacity, we look at the resources we have. So if our risk capacity is more, but our appetite is less, we will not accept the proposal. And guys, we are through with this topic of risk management. I hope this topic, you are confident about this topic and all your doubts must have been cleared. What I want... Yes. What, can you explain question number 1? Yes, I can explain question number 1. Where is question number 1 in the book? So in question number 1, they have asked you the sequence of risk management. And to answer this question, I want you to come to page number 18, risk management process. And if you will see over here, the line is risk management process is a top-down process. And when we talk about top-down process, first we have to identify the risk. Then we have to set our objective, response. So the correct answer would be option D. Sufyan Sheikh, please refer page number 18, risk management process, to answer question number 1. Guys, what you have to do in the next week, we will be starting with another topic, right? And that topic is the biggest topic of the entire syllabus, which is corporate finance. And if you will look at corporate finance is very interesting topic, very, very interesting topic. You are going to love it because it is a mixture of theoretical as well as practical part. It is very heavily tested topic for the examination and it is very interesting as well. Okay. So what you people have to do is, during the week, first of all, try and solve every MCQ in your CMA Becker course of risk management of unit number 4. Once you are done with that, try to read or listen to the lectures of corporate finance. It will help you. Yes, Sneha, do solve practice test questions of Becker's of risk management. Do solve them. And Vaishnavi, what doubt do you have in question number 2?
Ma'am, actually,
whenever we talk about risk indifferent people are the people who do not give importance to the concepts of volatility and risks. They take their investment decisions emotionally. And when they take their investment decisions emotionally, most of the times they ignore the concept of volatility. And if you will read this question, over here, they have ignored the concept of volatility. Since today is my first class in my CMA journey and I joined yesterday at Simandhar, I don't receive the material yet. So is it possible to get soft copy in Becker portal till I receive the material? Yes. So you must have got your Becker's login ID. You can go there and you can start reading from there. No problem at all. Everything, whatever material you will receive in hard copy, in hard form, everything has its soft copy in the Becker material, Becker software. The login ID would have been provided to you. By mistake, Vivek, I must have said D. It is my slip of tongue. I am also a human being. I can also make a mistake while speaking. The idea is that to answer that question, go to page number 18, read the concept, and you'll get the answer. It is a theoretical question. If you know the concept, you will be able to answer. Don't make a fuss about it. Don't be a child. What I was telling you people was, your job today is first, solve all the questions. Second, read these notes from your books so that this concept is sealed in your mind. And then you have to do cumulative revision. Guys, do not forget the concept of cumulative revision that I shared with you yesterday. What all you have studied today, before going to sleep, try to make the charts in your brain. What you studied, what were the subpoints. If you get stuck anywhere, immediately open your book and see where you have got stuck. If you will do this exercise again and again, then trust me, you will retain the concept for a longer period of time. Neeraj, flashcard is nothing but a concept in the form of question and answer so that you can recall the concept. It is already given in the Becker's material. What I'm trying to explain to you people is that if you will get habitual to the concept of cumulative revision, then you can retain the things better for a longer period of time. And when you will revise it again and again, then it will be easy for your brain to recall while during the examination. Trust me. Can you promise me that you will get into the habit of cumulative revision? You have to make this promise to me. From today onwards, you are going to do cumulative revision. Whatever you will study today, before going to sleep, in your mind, without opening the book. A revision is always done in the mind, not with the book open. Whenever we read the book, we are auditing. When we are revising, the book is closed, my eyes are closed, only my brain is working. So revise that ways. Tomorrow, whatever you will study, you will revise that along with what you have studied today. Similarly, the third day when you will be revising, you will revise for first 2 days as well, along with what you studied at the third day. So this way, the revision will be cumulative and you will not forget what we have studied. Next week, before starting with corporate finance, I will take a rapid fire. I will play rapid fire with you people. I will ask questions and I will see who all are answering in the chat box. And you people have to be very, very honest with me and with yourself. Then only we can crack CMA exams with very good marks. And that is my target for you people. I want each and every person. There are 32 students right now with me. I want each and every student to pass their examination. And I know you can do it. You have the capability. I am here to motivate you. I am here to teach you. I am here to solve your doubts. But you just have to study. All right. So you people have made a promise to me. I will see you all in the next week with new topic, with the rapid fire of risk management. Till then, please keep studying, keep revising every day without fail. It is a practice which you have to do every day. Okay. If you have any doubts, any questions, you can ask me. I am open to take your questions. If you have any question, ask me. If you don't have any question, I know you people are motivated right now. Do not go out. Do not turn off your books. Do not switch off your systems. Immediately solve some questions. Yes. Palakpreet, this is the beauty of MCQs. You know, this is one thing which every student faces. When a teacher teaches, whenever they read the book, everything seems so simple, so easy, so self-explanatory. But when we read the question, we get confused. Why? Because we do not read the question to understand what the examiner is asking. But when we read the question, our mind is constantly thinking, from which topic is this question asked? Is it from risk assessment? Is it from risk management? Instead of focusing on what is the call of the question, our mind is immediately struggling between identification of the topic. So do not get into this habit. Read the question one time, two times, slowly. Try to understand what is the case study given in the question. Try to understand what they are trying to ask you. And then read the options. Read all the 4 options very, very carefully. And try to put in the options in the scenario of the question. This is a practice which you have to do. That is why I'm saying that solve as many questions as you can. Solve hundreds and thousands of mock test papers. Because if you are going to solve a mock test paper every day, I'm sure by the end of the course, you will be able to solve hundreds of papers. And I am not joking, guys. I have achieved the degree of CA and CPA only because I'm swearing on God. I'm not lying. You can ask anyone around me, all my friends, all my family members. Every day, I used to solve a mock test paper of 20 questions from the topics which I have studied every day without fail. Even if the questions were repeated, many a times the questions were repeated, but I used to solve them because that helped me to retain the topics in my brain. That helped me to make the roadmap in my brain of the entire syllabus. Trust me, this is the only way to practice, to understand the question, to understand the options. And these exams are formed to make the exam difficult. No one wants you to become CMA. But I know you all will become a CMA, a successful CMA. What you have to do, you have to revise every day. You have to solve a mock test paper of 20 questions every day without fail. All right. Smita, you can find the lecture on the LMS. It must be uploaded. If it is not uploaded, then you have to contact Team Simandhar. I'm sure it must be uploaded by now. So it's uploaded. You can check it over there. Yes. So don't make me fall. Don't make me fail. I have helped so many students over past 9 years of my teaching career to crack their exams. I have helped myself with my strategies to crack the exams. I'm sharing very valuable, golden rules of passing professional exams with you people. Do follow them. You will definitely see a change in your preparation. Trust me, you will definitely see a change. This is my favorite saying and last saying for today for you people. Many a times a student asks me, whether the paper is difficult or whether the paper will be easy. And I always tell a student, the paper is the same. You make it difficult or easy. It is your preparation that will make the paper easy or difficult. So guys, focus on your preparation. The result will be in your favor. And with this note, I'm signing off. I'll see you all in the next week with a rapid fire of risk management and with fresh topics of corporate finance. Bye everyone. Have a good week, good learning experience.